there, guys. Welcome back to another episode of E&Ftv. Today, we are joined by my good friend, Dylan Smith, who is the Global Account Executive for Ideas. Dylan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Thomas. I'm really looking forward to a great conversation around meetings and events, as you're passionate about it as I am.
Fantastic. No, I really have been looking forward to this one. I mean, you've seen some of the stuff that we've been doing to drive this space within the industry and work with a lot of leaders. And I've been really looking forward to talking to you about this because what we're going to be discussing is something, as you say, that I'm really passionate about, you're really passionate about, and I know that Ideas are obviously doing a lot of things in this space as well right now, and I'm really excited to hear all about it. And I know that our audience will also be really excited to hear it as well. Just before we get into it, though, Dylan, I just need to say to the audience, yeah, guys, thank you so much for joining this episode. I also want to ask if you could just click that subscribe button on the YouTube channel, and please do let us know your thoughts in the comments below about this episode. We're trying to grow this channel as best we can. We're bringing you weekly content without fail, value-added content of a really, really strong quality with fantastic guests just like Dylan. So please do help us grow the channel by subscribing, and also let us know what you think. So, Dylan, let's get into it. For anybody that doesn't know, then, can you tell us a bit about you, obviously, what your role is within Ideas, but also what your department actually focuses on? I think you touched on it very slightly at the start, but I think we'd all love to hear a bit more about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'm a global account executive for Ideas. I'm specifically responsible for our meetings and event solution. So Smart Space and then Function Space RM. I'm a part of a team called our Emerging Innovation Sales Teams because Ideas is really looking at innovating the space, going outside of just guest rooms. So part of that team, I also have my colleague who's based in the UK who covers our Rev Plan solution, which is a total forecasting solution. Right. So we are trying to get the word out and spread that Ideas is not just guest rooms anymore, that we are looking at total hotel optimization.
Yeah. And I suppose in terms of your role, you coming on, has it always been that focus? So when you joined Ideas, was it always in that M&E space? And if so, what have you seen in terms of that role as it changed over time? Because again, there's a lot of developments going on within the M&E space. There's a lot of focus. There's a lot of attention. So I suppose in your sort of period of time so far, have there been any noticeable changes that you've seen in terms of any advancements, I suppose?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I've actually only been at Ideas now for 5 months. So Ideas has taken it within the past year and a half to really start focusing on things outside of just guest rooms. So since I've joined, we've had a few of our teams develop even more to really focus on our accounts solely. So we can really try to figure out, where do our accounts want to go? Do they want to focus on outside of guest rooms and do more than that? So since I've joined too, we've had in our Converge meeting, we've announced some of our new developments we've had within our solutions too. And our solutions have built-in features that allow people to provide feedback as well. Because we really do want to engage with our clients, because at the end of the day, the user is going to know best. It's just like what we have in hotels. It's all about the guest, right? It's guest experience. And so it's the end user experience for us. So we really do take that feedback to heart to really try to tweak our tools to make it unique to our client and to our customers, so that way they can shape their practices around it to fully leverage technology, because that's just the way the world is going right now. I was just at CBOT Connect, and that was one thing that we touched on, was adopt technologies. Don't be afraid to adopt technologies. And that's what we need to do in hotels, is start shifting that mindset into, yes, we have our gut feeling, trust your gut feeling, but also at the same time, let the computer help you. Don't give yourself so much of a headache.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's that fine balance, isn't it? It's that fine balance between tech and a hotelier's experience. I think sort of you mentioned a gut feeling. I think it's one of those where it's the problem that we've sometimes got, or the challenge that we've sometimes got, is that, well, this is how we've done it for the last 20 years. And in this space specifically, not revenue management, but revenue management within M&E has been one of those mystical elements of the business, that some people do certain things in one way, some others do it in others. Some things work, some things don't, but it's always a bit of trial and error. And there's always a hopeful focus for the year ahead. We're going to change things and we're going to do things differently this year. and then we end up falling back into that usual process. But the nice thing, or I suppose the innovative thing that we're sitting in now, is a market that is desperate for change. And it's almost a necessity. And the fact that ideas are all, are jumping on this, because I know that you've been in the M&E space for some time, but again, to have that focus on, I suppose, the wider complexities of M&E revenue management and how those have become more and more complex over time and as the needs of clients have changed. But I suppose also the expectations of the hotels themselves have changed in terms of performance. So it's an interesting one. One thing I would say, though, with regards to yourself, I know you've only been there for 5 months, but I'm already hearing your name quite a bit. I mean, when we first met, we met through Warren and, of course, Michael at the hotel show round, and it was great to meet you then. But since then, I know you've been connecting with a lot of people in the industry, trying to find out more. Obviously, I was one of them, but I know there's a number of leaders out there that you've really tried to understand where the pain points are. And I think that's a massive, massive thumbs up, because in my opinion, if you're ever really going to understand this market, it's, as you said it so beautifully earlier, but it's going to be the people. It's going to be the people doing the day in, day out job. As soon as you understand those real pain points, that's where you'll start to win. And I love the fact that you've already started doing that. I really do.
I appreciate that. And I mean, it's so true. APAC is so different than EMEA, just like America is so different than EMEA and APAC as well. So it's really getting out there so we can understand what are our clients' needs, but just in general, like what's going on? I mean, what is going on in the world? Like, how can we help? Even if it's out, just we can all be leaders within each other and lean on each other. Maybe someone at Leonardo knows something that at the Claremont Group that they don't know, and how can they help each other and share that insight. And that's what I think is really important, and it's only going to help meetings and events thrive. Is we have to work together. And I know you've been doing some great things with M&E leaders too, of getting everyone together to do brainstorming, to really try to shift the focus from outside of guest rooms into such a massive revenue stream that meetings and events is. I mean, you think of just the London market itself, it's so unique and so competitive, and there's so much business. And now it's even shifting out to Manchester and Birmingham too. So how do you capitalize on that? What tools, what thought processes go into that? So yeah, it's really important to see what's going on in the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's an incredible time for this space, actually. I'd say incredible, but unbelievably exciting. So I suppose a major question for me, really, I mean, you're going to have not a very unique insight, but a very, I suppose, useful insight from being in one of the largest hospitality tech businesses in the world. So from your perspective, what do you think the reason is that there's such a focus and a resurgence in terms of this area of the market, the M&E space? Because again, yes, I've been doing quite a bit of work in this, but to really get the ground running, we need big tech to really jump into this and look at their solutions and see what can be developed and ultimately help. So I suppose from your perspective, what do you think it is that's made this big resurgence or big focus on M&E revenue management?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's a few things. One is, we're really coming out of the pandemic, and things are accelerating really fast.
Sure.
Amex Global Travel has come out with a few numbers that some markets are already exceeding 2019. I know some properties still like to benchmark to 2019, but the reality is it's busier than that. And you have staffing shortages. So there's so much that goes into that. And now people are starting to get back together and in person. That's the most important thing. It's, virtual is great, but it does not, replace the sitting down, having a cup of coffee or a pint, I guess, depending on who you are.
And what time it is.
What time, and
maybe a cup of tea if we're going down that road.
There you go. And really hashing things out in person, so you can read that body language, but also just really get the temperature of a crowd when you are in an event, and feel that experience. And that's what I really enjoyed about in-person events now, is feeling that experience. So yeah, that's really leading people now to look outside of just the guest rooms, like I've mentioned, and focus on, hey, it's no longer just heads and beds. We have massive events coming up. We're struggling with staffing shortages, we're focused on sustainability efforts. How are
Yeah.
we making sure we're choosing the right groups at the right time that balance out our hotel, that fit our hotel, and fit also our theory on what we want to do with our groups to enhance that guest experience? Because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it is all about the guests. I mean, as much as it's the cliche saying, it's what makes the hotel thrive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I suppose in terms of sort of my experience, I guess, and from talking to the leaders that you sort of mentioned earlier within the sort of the four big meetings that we're holding right now. So we're on the second one. One of the biggest areas that we've found is that the culture within the hotels is that they're not being targeted on M&E. So they're being targeted like crazy on the bedroom side. Absolutely. But there is an element of that cultural element is just not there. The other thing as well is what's being considered and now realized quite considerably is the amount of money that is being lost by not effectively optimizing their space. And that was one of the biggest shocking things for me because I just assumed, maybe, well, clearly wrongly, but I just assumed that if you've got an M&E space, there of course would be just as much focus on bedroom as there would on your M&E, but there's just not. And that was a bit of a shift for me because anybody looking from the outside in, you would see it as an obvious area for revenue management. You would see it as, why wouldn't you be? And there's these questions now rising of, well, we're seeing what our competition are now able to achieve, and we're not doing what we should be doing. And that's again where tech can really come in. So I can obviously mention a really good mate of mine who's really driving the space of benchmarking with M&E revenue management. Like to have benchmarking in bedrooms is second nature. We've got that as a customer. You've got that as a business itself within that hotel space. You've got that as a. It just is. It always has been, and yet with M&E we have nothing in terms of benchmarking. So it all starts with data, and it always will. And that's where tech can then champion that data. As long as it's clean, I know there's so many people that are going to just say it needs to be clean and accurate data. It needs to be quality data. Absolutely, it does. But when we see tech companies embrace that data from the hotels, because let's be honest, guys, we need to be giving that data over. But as soon as that data is used effectively, the opportunities are endless and there's no downside. That's the thing that I've always struggled with is why is this not being adopted? Because there is no downside to being able to optimize effectively. And it's one of those where, again, being from the beast that you are from in terms of ideas, it's one of those where I can see that you guys must see the amazing opportunity that's going to come with the developments that you guys are doing internally with your products in terms of the M&E space.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes back to earlier what I mean. You mentioned with culture, like it's the culture shift, and then it's getting that instant feedback from the client, and that's what's really important to us because with coming out of the pandemic, things changing, especially M&E, it's getting busier, but also every group is unique. So we do have a bunch of advancements incoming. I mean, one of our solutions, function space, we have tentative group pricing. So we're now able to really forecast if that group is going to actually go to definite or not. That's powerful. So you can actually start to forecast the likelihood of if it's going to go into definite, or if you can start focusing on other groups. Group window forecasting as well. So you are now able to evaluate business 3 to 5 to 7 years out. So when you have a major citywide coming in, you don't have to guess anymore as a sales team. You can actually just evaluate it and get an optimal rate to send back. I think of myself when I was in sales of like the amount of time I would spend in an RFP or in a DBR meeting and going back and forth with my revenue manager. But well, I want to do this. They want that. And then the revenue manager is like, well, this isn't right for the hotel. To now actually have tech out there and solutions out there to just be like instantly yes or no, really. And if it's a yes, here's what the rate is. It saves you so much time, and now you're not reactive anymore, you're proactive. And that's what we love about sales, is sitting down and doing this. I don't never say we're in sales, we're in more of consulting, and getting together. How can we help? And so when you have tools like that in sales, that's just going to enable you to just be that very proactive salesperson and work on those relationships, which just in hand, I mean, end up selling your hotel for you. It's no work on your end. So really great insights. And as everyone knows, our tool is SmartSpace, the wonderful Heather Hart. She made an amazing tool, and we're continuing now to really focus on that. So that's something too that we get insights from on clients. What would we like? This is now we're focusing on developing some of those things, possibly bringing in competitor info. Trying to look at ways to partner with amazing partners we already have, which I think goes back to earlier is how do we get better in hotels? We work together. In tech, we have to do the same too. We have to build those partners to really make sure we're fulfilling, promises to clients and what clients want.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose an interesting sort of insight from you would be, what do you think, if you were going to have a couple of main takeaways that you've had from talking to people? Because I know a big part of your job right now is talking to industry leaders, talking to people that are doing the job. If you were going to choose, I don't know, one or two things or one or two major points, what have you learned from being within this space now that is the biggest sort of pain points, I suppose, for people? And what are they crying out for? I think that would be such an interesting one because, again, at the bottom of the video, guys, if you've got this far into the video, what are your pain points in terms of M&E revenue management? What are you missing from your tech solution? Because I have no doubt that anything that's being said to you at the moment, Dylan, you're probably writing it down and thinking, right, I need to get this to our developers. I need to get this over there. So what are if you were going to choose two, what are the biggest things that you're noticing right now that people are crying out for?
Yeah, number one for me is people are drowning in RFPs. They're getting slammed with RFPs, and they have no way of figuring out what's good or what's not good. Should I take it? What rate do I do? Now they're backlogging themselves, and they're missing out on amazing pieces of business. When I was just at Cvent Connect, which is a great combo of both meeting planners and salespeople, and to hear feedback from meeting planners of, hey, if I don't hear back within 24 to 48 hours, I'm already disregarding that. Now, if a hotel only has a few people, it makes it that response time that much more important.
Yeah.
So you want to also put together a good response too. You don't want to waste your time or the planner's time.
Yep.
And so that's where tech comes into play there to help you with that efficiency and responding in a timely manner, but also with an optimal rate of something that is good for your hotel, or even just turning it down with something that doesn't fit. Another one that constantly gets brought up is people sometimes really struggle to have insight into what their conversions are, what their conversion percentage is, because not everything gets into a system. And I was guilty of that too, because it goes back to you have so many things on your plate. And now you want to put in every single RFP that comes into your sales and catering system. And if you get one, I've been there, it's like, I know I'm not getting this piece of business. I'm not putting it in there. I'm responding via email and that's it. And that's where tech can come in to help too, to really show you what are you converting, what's your revenue conversions, so those would be the two big pain points. And we still get a lot of questions about even sustainability too. That's even just all around. Sustainability is still a massive topic. What's tech doing to help with that, but also what are hotels doing to help with that too. So I know you asked for two. I mentioned three, but yeah.
I'll take three. No, the nice thing, because obviously, again, you and I have been speaking for a little while now, and then the really cool thing is that you've come from that world. You're not alien to it, so you understand it. And I think there's an air of credibility there more than anything. For when you are talking to people, they can see that you understand what they're saying. It's all well and good having some sort of sales exec going out there and trying to build business and whatever. But the fact that you understand the real world of what they're experiencing, I think goes so far in terms of building that relationship, but also them trusting that you're going to be able to use that information effectively to advance things your end, which I think has got to feel quite nice because the industry just seems to be accepting what you're doing, what you're saying, and your involvement, which is really, really great. And I said it earlier, I've heard things about you. I've seen you now out and about, and it's good to see that somebody's really, I'd say, taking the reins and believing that there's a positive change coming. And I think, again, not to badger on about it, but if anyone's going to do it, really do it. It's going to be the big tech guys. It's going to be the people that can really make that change from a system perspective and utilizing that quality data, guys, not just data. That's that quality data. I suppose coming on to sort of my last question for you, Dylan, is, and I suppose this is quite a big one, but what exciting developments, what exciting things are going on within ideas within this space at the moment, and what's to come? Can you give us an idea?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, if I'm speaking specifically to just the meetings event side of things,
sure.
It's like I mentioned, just with Smart Space itself, really looking at trying to find ways to partner with some of those people that offer competitive insight. Maybe
sure.
elaborating that more to bring that into the visualization that's already within Smart Space. But we have an RMS tool built specifically for function space, allowing you to optimally price things out within the matter of minutes. So, we set floors and ceilings just like we do for guest rooms. Now people can do it for their function rooms. So you already know if it's going to fit within that floor and ceiling, like if it's a good piece of business. Tentative group pricing, I think I touched on it a little earlier. Now knowing the system's going to forecast for you function space groups, if it's tentative or not, if it's going to actualize or not, that's super powerful. I'm going to look at other things like group window forecast, like I touched on that earlier too, being able to book 3 to 5 to 7 years out. Super valuable too. That way, that's already going to help you with your upcoming budget season too as well. You already have some of those things in mind of let's lock in these massive groups because we know it's the right place at the right time. It's just like rooms. It's the right buyer at the right time. That's what we focus on. Let's focus on that for M&E too. Those are some of the things we have now, and definitely more to come too as we're getting feedback from our clients. Because one of the prior, we didn't have floors and ceilings for function space. It still did optimal quotes, but we received feedback. Some people wanted to set those floors and ceilings. We took action. We put that into the system. So we really do. It's not just a cliche saying. We really do care about it. And it's important to even myself because that's how I can keep badgering my team to get better.
I love it.
Keep pushing and say, hey, G3 is amazing. We love G3. But let's really start pushing this M&E so a hotel can focus on M&E. As you said, you're passionate about it. I'm passionate about it. And we continue to need leaders to stand up and be a big voice and keep pushing for this. And even just other companies too as well, really, getting into that M&E space and really pushing and exploring. Because the more tools we have as a hospitality salesperson or anything like that, the better. And it's only going to help. Only going to help. It can never get worse.
No, absolutely.
But you got good, clean data.
Exactly. No, Dylan, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. As you say, this is a subject that is, clearly a passion for me. It's very clearly a passion for you. And I'd say to anybody that has got this far in the episode, please do get in touch with Dylan. Get in touch with Dylan if you want to find out more about what ideas are able to provide now in terms of their product range with regards to M&E revenue management. But also get in touch with Dylan if you've got thoughts or your experience of what the products have yielded for you currently and what you would love to see ideas do going forward. I know Dylan would love to hear from you, and our community has been so great at engaging with the guests that come on this show. So I would urge anybody, if you want to talk to Dylan, I'll pop his details down below and you'll be able to contact him directly through LinkedIn. I just want to say to everybody, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. As I said at the start, please do like and subscribe, and don't forget to let us know your thoughts about this episode and anything that we've discussed, because we'd love to hear your thoughts. Dylan, again, thank you so much for coming on. It's been great to have you, mate, and it's been brilliant to talk to you.
No, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. It's good to see there's passionate people out there that really want something in M&E. And like you said, like and subscribe. I mean, this is where I find a lot of insightful info too, and connect with people. It's because people commenting on this and reaching out and like going back, it's network. That's how we can all make each other better and how we can help strive to make a difference, especially in this space. So no, thank you very much.
No, thank you. I really do appreciate it. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what Edwards and Finn and Ideas actually do together next year, because we've got a few things planned in the background, but we'll come on to that another time on another episode. But thanks, guys, for tuning in, and don't forget to tune in to next week's episode. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.